Howdy everyone, Poacher here with an Age of Magic video, and in today's video we're doing the champion spotlight of Arkhane, the Ork Caster, possibly the most powerful character in the game. I don't know yet. I'm about to go over her abilities with you. Haven't tested her before, have read over her abilities quite briefly, and they seem pretty, what's the word? Overpowered. But we'll see. First hand. If I'm right or wrong. Anyway, let's jump into it. We'll go over her stats, go over her abilities, and have a look at what she's like in the old arena. Okay, so going at her stats at level 90, gear 12. Is it 12? No, gear 11 maxed. We're not going to gear 12. And the old 7 stars. We're at 2.6 million HP, 232 speed. Not horrible. Armor, 26,000. Magic damage resistance, 46,000. Basic damage, 235,000. Critical hit chance, 26. And critical damage to 425,671. And here are in-depth stats for you guys. You can pause it, have a look at anything you wish to look at there. Beautiful. Okay, let's jump into the arena, go over her abilities and what she can do. Okay, so here we are in the arena looking at her basic attack, Wave Blast, which triggers the caster class mark. So we're going to have a look at this powerful Orc's basic attack. It damages one target, has a 75% chance for an allied Orc with the lowest HP to perform a support attack on the same target. If the target is affected by the Scorching Terror debuff, then all their buffs will be removed. So it's a pretty strong basic attack, removes all buffs, and can get some extra damage in there as well. I've gone ahead and applied the debuff to the enemy. As you can see, we've got the tiles there with his taunt up. We're going to go ahead and use the attack and see what happens. Look at the animation. So it's a pretty nice animation. Gets rid of the buffs, and we follow through with the support attack as well. 75% chance, pretty decent chance of it landing. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff happening. Doesn't really matter though. But yeah, there is the potential to get a lot of damage out with this ability. Plus the benefit of removing buffs, which is always good. There are so many buffs in the game now. To have a basic attack that can remove them, as if you're going to say no. Pretty decent, probably a top tier basic attack, to be honest. Moving on to Arkhane's second ability, or first special ability, we have Watery Prison. Triggers the boss class mark. Cast a boss mark, sorry. The boss next attack on the marked target will be a critical hit. Okay, so pretty decent damage. She'll apply the boss class mark to the enemy. So the ability itself, target misses 3 turns. As you can see by my coughing, I'm already astounded by how long of a lockdown this is. Damage to the target increases by 35% for the next 3 attacks. So big damage, especially with that guaranteed crit from the boss. You're going to be doing a lot of damage. The target will take more damage for another 2 attacks if they are affected by the Scorching Terror debuff. So obviously her whole kit revolves around the Scorching Terror ability. And when the enemy has it applied to them, they are going to suffer a lot. So we'll go ahead and look at the ability, what it looks like. I haven't, honest to God, have not seen this ability yet. My expectations is that they would legit be in a water prison for 3 turns. I'm expecting too much though. Alright, let's have a look. Using it on a tiles. There's the prison, yep. And he's asleep. He's got the big debuff on him, 5 stacks of it, as you can see. And yeah, he's out of commission for 3 goes. That's pretty decent. You don't have to worry about him. Use it on a healer. Use it on a boss. I don't know. Currently the only factions I don't see are being useful against are Dragonkin and Beastmen, for the fact that they can just remove debuffs every turn they get. So, yeah, which is a bit of a shame. I mean, well, not a shame. She has to have counters. Otherwise, she would legit just be broken. Okay, so yeah, pretty nice ability. Good lockdown, good debuff application. You can do a lot of damage with this ability for sure. Absolutely, especially when hitting with a boss and hitting a guaranteed crit with the extra damage multiplier. Whew, looking at some good times there. Okay, here we are with the bread and butter of the Sea Witch herself. Okay, there is a lot to this ability. We're going to read over it, then I'm going to show you the ability, and then we're going to talk about it because there's a lot to discuss. It's called Monster of the Deep. It triggers the caster class mark. Does damage to all allies equal to 10% of their current HP. Damage ignores armor and magic resistance. Okay, pretty standard. Weird start, you're doing damage to yourself. Okay, damages one enemy with a bonus equaling 80% of the total damage done to allies. Cast the Scorching Terror debuff on all enemies, reducing their accuracy to 25%. When enemies miss an attack because of the debuff, they take 30% of their current HP in damage. The damage ignores armor and magic resistance. The effect ends when an enemy orc is killed. So now it's getting a bit insane now, isn't it? 30% damage for simply missing an attack. But it gets worse. If the target's health drops below 33% as a result of that damage, then they can't be given a buff for 2 turns, and their HP is reduced to 0. If the target is killed by that attack, they cannot be resurrected for the entire battle. So, very, very interesting wording. Let's go ahead and look at the ability. We're going to go ahead and use it on the enemy Roynar. And one shot. Reminding you, though, that the difference is a fair bit. I think their gear 11, level 80, 0 Arkhane stars. She's level 90, gear 11 max, 0 Arkhane. So that's still a lot of damage. Still a lot of damage. Oh, wow. Let's talk about this ability, because there's a lot to it, and there's a lot of unnecessary things to it, I believe, unless I'm completely missing something. The first part makes sense. We take HP from ourselves, we do bonus damage to the enemy. The more HP you have, the more damage you do. Seems pretty straightforward. Okay, let me get my mouse here. Alright, cast the Scorching Terror debuff on the enemies. Okay, so what we're going to do, and that's why I've picked this team particularly, or specifically, sorry, is so we can see if Sacrif can remove that debuff. So we're going to go ahead and just auto-attack with our characters until Sacrif removes debuffs from her allies. So let's speed this up so Sacrif gets around to having a turn. Now, was that the ability that gets rid of debuffs? We'll find out in a second. Okay, good. All right. She can remove it. That's a positive. Because the way the word ability is worded makes me feel like it couldn't have been removed. The effect ends when an enemy orc is killed. So there's a contingency. If you kill an enemy orc, the debuff will be removed from you if you do not have the ability to remove debuffs yourself. Which I think is good because this ability is ridiculous. Okay, so you have a 25% accuracy decrease. Now, this part is weird. If the target's health drops below 33% as a result of damage, then they can't be given buffs for 2 turns, and their HP is reduced to 0. Why do we have this part? If their HP is dropping to 0, what does it matter if they're given buffs or not? The buffs aren't going to matter. They're dead. So this part seems very unnecessary. If the target's health drops below 33% as a result of that damage, so the damage you take when you miss an attack, then they cannot be given buffs for 2 turns, and their HP is reduced to 0. Am I missing something? If their HP is being reduced to 0, then what the F does it matter? If this part makes even less sense. If the target is killed by that attack, they cannot be resurrected for the entire battle. Alright, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. But again, why is the whole buff thing? The buff thing is irrelevant. I don't, even if, like, this doesn't matter, because even if, I'm like, in my mind right now, I'm thinking, even if the character has a reincarnate on them, who gives reincarnate? Gloriana, for example, gives the Gloriana gives them the reincarnate. Is it reincarnate, or do they just restore HP? Either way, that's what's in my mind at the moment. It wouldn't matter, because if they die, they're just they can't be resurrected. So I'm assuming that this counts as any reincarnation. I'm going to actually have to physically test this. I'm not going to do it in the video, but I'm going to test this and make a video. Not a video, let Playcott know if there's anything that seems off. There's a lot to this. It seems overcomplicated. It should just, in my mind, it should just read, if the target's HP falls 33%, they're eliminated. There's nothing that can save them. Which is ridiculous. That's so strong. That is ridiculously strong. Mind you, 25% chance to miss isn't that high, and you can remove the debuff. So there is that, but it will be interesting to see how AI play around this, because AI do not use abilities if they have accuracy decrease on them. Unless that's changed in the near past, where I don't know about it, the AI is going to be just this is going to be such a strong team to use against AI, because they won't attack, they won't use abilities. They will use non-attacking abilities, they just won't use attacking abilities. So yeah, okay, very powerful ability. Lots of potential. Be interesting to see how people use it. Next, we have her passive Tidal Wave. Every time Arkhane's HP drops below 50%, her speed increases by 33% for 3 turns. When an allied Orc attacks an enemy affected by the Scorching Terror debuff, Arkhane has a 50% chance to perform a support attack on that same enemy. So between her and her allied Orcs, there can be the potential of a lot of support attacks happening. Pretty straightforward passive, to be honest. It's probably the most underwhelming part of her kit so far. And she does have a leadership ability. So we'll jump over to that now. Sea Priestess. Allied Orcs with HP below 33% take 70% less damage, and their attacks cannot be dodged. Allied Orcs' damage is increased by 30%. Other allies are buffed by half as much. So that's a pretty... on top of her debuff, and then the boss mark, the boss of this faction is just going to absolutely pummel someone he attacks. This is insane. 70% less damage just because... I hope this doesn't include her. It just says allied Orcs. So if you're hoping their healer doesn't have a resurrect, and she would be the target. She would be the primary target. Assuming the tank isn't ridiculously strong and is impossible to bypass, you want to take her out first. No. It doesn't matter. It's a leadership ability. It's going to do nothing. This is so powerful. Especially when the contingency of getting rid of that scorched whatever ability is taking out an Orc. And they're going to be so defensive heavy once going... Oh my god. Oh, Orcs are going to be so strong. I don't know. It's it's hard to tell when we've only got 2 out at the moment. But overall, her kit is powerful. It's a really powerful kit. Ridiculously powerful. And remember, like, you just think you're reading it and you're like, oh, maybe not. But remember, this is all built into one character. There are 6 other Orcs. Mind you, the combat guy is meh. He's decent, but he's not super great. She just needs 1 or 2 other Orcs to be stupidly strong like she is, and the faction becomes best in the game. They're fast, they have high defense, high attack. they have kill potential from debuffs. Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, she, to be honest, I don't, without even seeing the other orcs, her alone, she's a top tier character. Other factions in the past, we've been like, is it even worth getting this character? I don't know what she's behind an event, I'm pretty sure, to unlock. But I mean, if you can get her, because you're going to be seeing a lot of orcs in the future. Anyway, that is the spotlight on Arkhane. She's strong. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. I will answer it to the best of my ability. And wherever you're on the world, until next time, please take care of yourself.